Today we're going to look at an alternative way of rounding. If your child's having trouble with it, you can also go back to the previous video that I posted on rounding numbers. This is an alternative way that New York State has come up with. So the first thing that you need to know how to do is to find the midpoint. So you would use a vertical number line, and what's halfway between 0 and 10 ones would be 5. So the first thing they want them to understand how to do is to find the midpoint. And here they want to know, okay, 0 tenths and then 10 tenths. So between 0 and 1 would be 5 tenths. So that's the first step that they would need to know how to do. Then they have them looking at this type of a chart. In their homework, I think it's actually filled out for them, but you're going to name 155 in several different ways. So the first way you would do it is you would name it using as many hundreds as possible. So in 155, there's 100. There's 5 tens. And 5 ones. Then they're going to ask you to name it using as many tens as possible. So if I look, there's actually, because I have 100, there's actually 15 tens. Because if I want to say as many tens as possible, I can say 15 tens and 5 ones. And then they want you to name it using as many ones as possible. So I could also say 155 ones. If you look over here, if they're asking you to round to the nearest 10, I know that it's going to be between 15 tens. See how I have 15 tens? I know it's going to be between 15 tens and 60 tens. Or 16 tens. 16 tens is the same thing as 160, and 15 tens is the same as 150. So the midpoint is 155. If it's the midpoint or higher, you round up. So my answer would be 160. Let's look at another one like that. So again, this is my decomposition chart that I looked at from before, and you can see I just took the number 155, which is the same number we had last time, and we're decomposing the number where we have 100, 5 tens, 5 ones. Then I wrote it with as many tens as possible and then as many ones as possible. So now they're asking you to write it to the nearest hundred. So if I look in the hundreds column, I know it's between 100. You see I have 100. I know it's between 100 and 200. And if I look at the middle point, it would be 150. So I think about where 155 would be, and it would be about right there. So it's closer to 200. I would round to 200. This is a different way of rounding. Again, if the way that I showed you earlier previously, if you want to watch that video, that might be more helpful to you. We'll look at one more example, and then we'll stop for today. So to decompose 1 and 57 hundredths on this chart, you would first write it with as many ones as possible, which would be 1, 1, 5 tenths.
Good morning. Excuse the interruption. In about 5 minutes, we're going to have our second fire drill of the year.
And then 7 tenths.
You'll hear the fire alarm, the same as you heard the other day. It's a friendly sound. It's nothing to be afraid of. It's just loud.
Oh, I'm sorry, not 7 tenths.
Plug your ears. Remember, when you hear that alarm, we don't run from it. We get to an adult and we evacuate the building. Please listen to your teacher or an adult. They'll help you go the right way to get outside.
So 1, 1, 5 tenths.
We're going to exit quickly and quietly. again, it's not going to be a breakup. So please
Se-
listen to that alarm.
7/100ths. Now if I want to write it with as many tenths, I could write it as 15 tenths. Sorry for the interruption. And then 7/100ths. And then here, if I want to write it with as many hundredths as possible, it would be 157 hundredths. So if they're asking me to round to the nearest tenth, I'm going to go to the tenth column. See how I said there was 15 tenths? So I know it's going to be between 15 tenths and 16 tenths. I just go up one. So if I want to know what's in between those two numbers, remember these blank spaces are zeros. So what's in between those two numbers would be 1 and 55 hundredths. So then I go back to my original number, which is right
That'll be
here.
in more like 10 minutes. We're finishing up some SLOs. So in about 10 minutes. Thanks.
So 1 and 57 hundredths would be right here, and you can see it's closer to 1 and 6 tenths. It's another way of rounding. If it's not easier for you, then go back to the way we previously taught it.